So aside from getting in touch with you guys and engaging your services around risk, what do you think are there's a couple of sort of quick wins that people can get by what can people do to reduce their own risk?
Yeah, so again, if you looked at it from a property owner's investor's point of view, you'd have a conversation with your property manager around how their current systems and processes protect themselves from this risk, and you consider making method testing between tenants is part of what you would do. From a business involved with property, you should have a policy and procedure that's in place, and some training for staff, because again we have these sort of situations where let's take real estate sales, where real estate salespeople are running open homes, so it's a workplace, in properties which have had labs operating in them. They're getting the employees are getting unwell. You've got members of the public who are being run through a former meth lab who are getting unwell, and yet a little bit of a risk assessment on the front end, because that's what our procedure says should happen, and $300, and we avoid all of those consequences flowing through.
Yeah, I guess like modern society, people are busy. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but do you think people sort of avoid risk because they're too busy, or they avoid the opportunity to assess that risk because they're just like, oh, I'm too busy, I can't deal with that now?
Oh, look, I'm sure busyness is a factor.
Yeah.
But I think a bigger factor is we like certainty, and we dislike uncertainty. And when you go down the risk route, that's got a lot of uncertainty that's associated with it. And again, that's what might be what you need to do, but all too often what we're pushed towards is what people want to hear, and that's that whole needs and wants debate that could be the topic of a whole other conversation as the reality of it. But typically people they want, the focus is on what they want rather than what they need, and what they need in this instance isn't necessarily to rush out and spend money testing for methamphetamine, right? What they need to do is make a conscious assessment of that risk alongside others as it relates to the particular thing that they're involved with, whether it's buying a property, renting a property, doing work on a property. Consciously assess those risks and make sure you're not affected by them. Don't just ignore them.
What about, like, say, greed? Like, just talking about some of the human sort of emotions, or that come into risk. Do you think people will, if they're, say, a bit greedy about a transaction essentially, or life in general, they might just sort of think, oh, bugger the risk, I just want the money?
Oh, no, I have absolutely zero doubt that is something that some people will choose to do. And when you're an organisation that truly does put people first, there's some challenges and problems that are associated with that. So it's then a case of saying, well, how do you get the interests of those people who might choose to adopt that approach aligned with an outcome that means that people don't get caught out by this stuff? And that to me is ever the challenge that we have to work our way around and through. But are people being caught out because of the of greed? 100%.